All right, welcome folks to this Future of Learning at Our House client conference here online with me, Mr. Powell of History at Our House. We're going to be discussing what some new and exciting developments in the world of Learning at Our House for the coming academic year, and just talking about issues I think that are relevant to all of us, regardless of what particular stream of products we might be using or approaches or methods that we might be taking in our homeschooling and after schooling and summer schooling and generally educational endeavors in life. I want to just start by, as you'll see on screen here, we're using WebEx today, and as I think most of you know already, Learning at Our House is the umbrella organization, if you will, that encompasses three products now that have been operating for a number of years together. The original product is History at Our House, which I started quite a few years ago. I've lost track now, and I like to joke with my clients. It's kind of strange, but I'm a historian, but I'm really, really terrible with dates. And so it's funny how I can't even remember what year I got started. But it's one of the peculiar traits of my method derives from the fact that I myself have a terrible memory. And I think that one of the reasons why I'm a really good historian and a really good teacher is because I come from this context of having this, I would almost call it a handicap. And thus I approach the subject from a very ruthless pedagogical perspective where I want to be extremely efficient in what I do on behalf of myself and then on behalf of my students by extension. And so that's History at Our House was the first product. And then a few years ago, I'm thinking about three. Mr. Johnson came on board with his music classes, and he gave a really tremendous history of Western music, where I myself I must tell you, I learned things about music that I really perhaps always felt, but really had never been able to identify intellectually, and I benefited enormously from that course, and he's been teaching since then. He has some new offerings coming up this year. And then most recently, 2 years ago, we started with Science at Our House, put together by Mr. John Krieger of Van Damme Academy in Southern California, and Rachel Miner, who's a homeschooling parent and nurse, and just generally wonderful woman. So I'm very proud to call her a friend, and she's been teaching kids in Science at Our House for the past couple of years. So we really have a wonderful team that's coming together, and we're reaching out to new providers and really trying to develop as broad an approach and a suite of products to serve all of your homeschooling needs. So that's just the broad strokes of the painting a picture here of Learning at Our House for the moment. Today, I'm not going to be talking about all of these various aspects equally. I'm going to be focusing, for the most part, on History at Our House. But before I do that, I do want to indicate a few things about music and science, and then we'll get into the most crucial aspects of today's talk, which pertain primarily to History at Our House. So let me start with music. This year, Mr. Johnson is offering a class on music. It's going to be a class on music pertaining, since we're studying European history, Mr. Johnson has been very ably kind of paralleling the content that we do in the history class with music that is relevant. So last year, some of you will remember that as we were doing the history of India, we had music from India. As we were doing the history of China, we had music from China. So I think the students that took that particular component benefited greatly from having those parallels and being able to expand in their appreciation and awareness of those various cultures. And so Mr. Johnson is going to pick up where he left off there, and he's going to be teaching music from various European cultures, I think with an emphasis on different national identities. So, for instance, of course, music from Iberia we'll be seeing an interesting theme there because there's an interaction of Islamic and North African and European influences in the music there. Whereas, of course, in the British Isles, we'll have a very different tradition. And in Germany, we'll have a unique tradition, and so on. So he's going to be focusing on music instruction in that regard. And he's also putting together plans for a poetry component because Mr. Johnson has recently written an opera. And so this is really exciting to me. I wanted to show you the web page for Mr. Johnson's opera. This is the fun that we can have with WebEx, which your students are now familiar with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and that should pop up on your screen at the moment. So here is BostonTeaPartyOpera.com. I love that. And so Mr. Johnson has written this opera about the Boston Tea Party. Couldn't be a better subject to choose. And so he's got a bunch of stuff here online. And I wish we had a bigger image here. Where's the best image? I love this particular banner that he's got for the Boston Tea Party opera. Oh, there we go. There we go. He's got some beautiful posters and T-shirts. I think I'm going to have to get myself one. And so, as an opera composer and as a music historian, Mr. Johnson has a lot of expertise in terms of the integration of literature and music. And so he's interested in helping students to appreciate that by offering a poetry component in relation to his music course. So I'm going to let Mr. Johnson bring those plans to greater degree of definition, and then I think he may want to have a particular session to announce the launch of that component himself. But I just wanted to get you excited about the possibility of that coming around. And so that's music. With regard to science, we have Mr. Krieger and Mrs. Miner are moving to the third year of the science program. So we started with life science, studying the human body and animals, dissections and plant life, all kinds of interesting components there. Last year we did physical science, so things like engineering and simple machines and all kinds of physically tinkering with the world around us and becoming aware of that sort of thing. And this year coming up is going to be earth sciences. So I don't have details on that, but I'm going to just give you a heads up that is what's coming, and that's going to complete the 3-year rotation in the science program. So I'm going to let Mrs. Miner and Mr. Krieger get those plans finally solidified, and then when we have a complete course outline and so on, and some teaser materials for you to look at, we'll probably have a separate Science at Our House session for you. So that's music and that's science in brief. What I wanted to do today, more to focus on to a greater degree, was the new technical or technical setup that you're going to be experiencing when you participate in any of these programs. And it's exciting to see because the web construction of the Learning at Our House system was, I'm not at all ashamed to say, it was designed by me. and I got into HTML editing when I was a civil engineer, and I think my first experience writing HTML code was on a Unix system back in 1994. So that was long before Al Gore had heard of the internet, and I was writing HTML that had little blue balls and yellow balls and red balls in it, and it was all hilariously simple stuff. But it was a lot of fun even back then. And that's how I learned to code HTML as an engineer before I started studying history. And so the History at Our House site that you see nowadays is based on my capacity as a programmer, and so evidently I don't have a great expertise there, and so the system is certainly Web 1.0, if you will. It's that earlier type of system that just doesn't cut it anymore. So I've been very honored and lucky to have a group of people come on board, History at Our House clients. And especially Rob Ratterman is the CEO of a company called Can Do, and Can Do is an amazing company that has a lot of web development expertise, and they have been preparing a new website for us. And I wanted to show it off to you guys today because it's super exciting. So I want to show you guys what the new website's going to look like. The new registration system, what that's going to look like, what the new smartphone apps are going to look like, is going to rock. And then I want to talk about content. I want to talk about new courses. I want to talk about the details of what History at Our House as a course is going to look like. So it's super exciting. So let me go now, and let us start with HistoryAtOurHouse.com, and let's jump to that. Okay, here we go. Share. Okay, so I hope you guys are all familiar with the Learning at Our House website. We had a glitch with it earlier today, and so I think it may be up by now or not, but I think you'll be familiar with kind of the way that it looks now. We have this type of new design that's nice and animated and so on. And the History at Our House website is going to be transferred over to that model. And then the music and science at Our House sites will be transferred over to that model shortly thereafter as well. So it's going to quickly come to be a very standardized look and feel that's very sleek. It's got all the features of a more kind of up-to-date type of HTML and Java and all that stuff. So I'm really excited about that. This is just a demo of the History at Our House site that's going to be coming online probably later this week. And so that's going to be the kind of the front page, the look and feel of it from the start. And then what you're going to do from this page is you're going to go to a sign-up wizard. And so this is very much a background programming here that you can't get to just yet. But the sign-up wizard is going to make your registration process a lot more pleasant. And when I say a lot, I don't know how much I can exaggerate that, because our registration system is clunky in the extreme. And again, it's a function of Mr. Powell's own limitations as a programmer and business person. So I'm so excited to be able to have people come on board that know what they're doing in this particular aspect. So they're going to give us this really sleek, delicious-looking interface where you're going to be able to sign up for stuff. So look what it looks like here. It's going to be a wizard. So you're going to select a course. You're going to say, all right, I want Asian history. Next. And I want upper elementary. Next. And I want to be live. Okay, so if it's Asian, it won't be live, but it will be European. So maybe wait a minute. I'm going to go back here. No, I want European. Okay, European history, upper elementary, and I want live. Okay, next. And then I said, all right, now you're going to be able to enter your student's name. All right, so I'm always learning, so here I am. I'm a student as well. So you'll enter in your student's name. We won't have to email you for that. No, back and forth. Is your email working? Blah, blah, blah. Now, it'll all be automated. And then you'll say, I want to pay monthly. No, we're going to have a bunch of different payment options here. I want to pay right up front with a discount, this or that. And then I want to go look at my registration. This is a wizard. You get a summary. This is for you. This is how much it costs. Add to the cart and continue shopping, right? So you can do your lower L, your upper L, your junior high, all of that stuff all at once before you go and you check out. So it's going to be just absolutely delicious to go through this particular site by comparison to the present clunky Mr. Powell registration system. So that's I don't know which one's my favorite, the registration wizard or the background. I tell you, it's going to be so nice to have this in operation. So the registration, this will be the case for music, it's fine for history. It's all going to be seamless. It's just going to be, well, gorgeous is about the best word I've got for it. So very excited to show you what that's going to look like. And then once you're in, then, well, okay, now I got to get to the new site here. So let me, I didn't have it on my screen. So let me bring it up. Where are you? There we go. Let's try here. Okay, so once you're in, we will have an integrated login screen. So in other words, you know how nowadays, if you're in the program, you have to remember the address, you have to remember this and that, and if you lose it, you have to email the registrar, and oh my goodness, okay, funky in the extreme. Well, now, there's going to be an integrated login page, where you just come in, there's going to be one page, it's going to be right at the front page. You go ahead and you enter in your user ID, and you're in. And once you're in, you don't have to remember what programs you have and what the address is going to be. You don't have to remember anything. The first thing you're going to see is a main screen that tells you what programs you have. So here's a demo, right? Imagine that you've got both lower L and upper L. Well, they're going to come up on the screen immediately in a central window that tells you, okay, which one you want to do. You want the lower, you want the upper. And so you don't have to remember the web address. You don't have to remember any of the details. The navigation is going to be really sleek. And so you say, oh, well, right now I want to do lower. You hit go, and that is going to take you to the system. Oh, I love this. So here we go. Let me close this for a second. So when you get to the main system, you're going to have all of these navigation options here. You're going to be able to say, I want to see everything. I want to see my lectures. I just want to see history through art. You click on history through art. Everything else disappears. And only the history through art is available on the screen. So you can toggle through that very easily. You want to see the geography content. You want to see everything. Right? So you select your options there. And then you go to the lecture, the one that you want. And when you click on that lecture, there'll be a name, there'll be a title, it'll tell you what's the content, and then you'll get a player. And bam, it just starts playing. You'll get PDF class notes. You go to the art, the image comes up. So you'll be able to click on the image and toggle back and forth. It's right now it's slow because the Java needs to be updated in the background, so I've heard. So you know, inevitably demos don't always go that smoothly. But you get the idea about what it looks like by comparison to today's system. Most recent lecture, my courses, right? You'll be able to go anywhere within the system at the click of a button. And you'll never get lost, and you'll never have to write Mr. Powell and say, I don't remember this or that. If you don't remember your password, you'll click on a screen and it'll email it to you. So, I mean, it's going to be, I think, a joy for you and for us to be able to have this type of a system that is just incomparably sleeker than anything that we have today. And if that wasn't enough, oh, I tell you, we are really rocking it today. If that wasn't enough, check this out. I thought I had it on my screen already, but don't worry, it won't take me long. If that wasn't enough, check this out. This is the screen, the same screen that you're going to find on the app. The History at Our House, the Music at Our House, the Learning at Our House app for your phone. So if you want to take it with you in 4G and play it, or Starbucks or whatever, and have your kids plugged in with their headset or whatever, and this will be, the app will just be, oh wait a minute, I don't want to go that far. wait, I don't want to go that far. Let me stop here. So you'll have an app for your smartphone that will allow you to just navigate through the entire system as easily as if you were on a computer. So that's the next thing that's coming. So yeah, this is quite the combination of advances here. I'm really excited to be able to show you this. So what else? Okay, so we got a new sleek registration wizard. We've got a new delightful, gorgeous web design. We've got a new high-tech set of apps for Android and iPhone and whatever else we need to have, we'll have. So the technical setup here for Learning at Our House is going to catapult to a completely new level. This is going to be a completely new experience for you. So for me, for us as teachers, for your students, for you as clients, I'm very excited to be able to say that we're going to be reaching this level of service. So let me just stop for a moment, because that is what I wanted to show you about the technical side of things. So why don't we take a breather here for a sec and see. I taught you all how to raise your hand. If anybody has questions or comments at this stage, why don't we just take a moment to pause and take all that in and talk it over if you like. So thoughts, questions, comments. Shireen, go ahead.
You could use the smartphone app over 4G. Does it only work on 4G? Would I be able to use it on 3G?
Oh, yeah. You don't need, obviously 4G is just a speed, right? So 3G, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, you don't have to be at that highest level of cell service or whatever. So, Wi-Fi, 3G, whatever it happens to be. Absolutely. Okay. So, anything else? Tonya, please, go ahead.
Wondering if you were going to make it easy for visitors to listen to sample lectures and see sample material through the listening technology as well.
Okay,
so
Tonya.
If I were at the coffee shop and my friend asks me that, what am I doing with my kids, and I can say, oh, well, let me show you. Here's a phone. Here, listen to this. Could I do that?
That's a terrific question, and that is definitely on our to-do list. Yes, the answer is yes. Thank you for bringing it up, because it just gives me a chance to write it in another spot to make sure that it gets done. So, yeah, we'll absolutely have a ton of sample content and free content for people to be able to take a look at stuff. And Laurel is suggesting an FAQ of some sort. We have one already, but obviously it needs to be kind of more integrated. It's over on the wiki that Tonya's husband Andy has helped produce. So, but it's right now, again, a lot of our stuff is kind of residing in different places, and it's hard necessarily for people to see how to connect all the dots. So one of the things about this new kind of interface is that we'll have an opportunity to make things a lot more accessible, a lot easier to reach. It'll be designed in such a way that people can find the answers they won't find, right? So yeah, that's exactly it, Laurel. I want people to be able to stand on one foot at Starbucks while they're ordering a latte and be able to figure out how this thing works. So perfect. Okay. So Alexander's asking if there's going to be a class notes button that will be able to separate class notes. That's an interesting one. Elena, could you clarify what you're asking there?
Well, actually, it's Alexander there because I forgot.
Okay.
So, I think it might be a bit hard to find the class notes because they're only in one lecture of the week. So since you can't see the whole description for the lecture, it may be a bit hard to find which lecture has the class notes in it.
Okay. Good comment. Good observation, Alexander. And I'm excited to say that I absolutely intend for you to be on the beta testing team. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good, because we need guys like me with a sharp eye for detail who can help us find the little weaknesses and little issues to resolve those. So, yeah, one of the things that's going to be probably mid-July, the next couple of weeks here, is I'll be contacting a select set of current users and transferring them over into the new system. And so then what I'm going to ask them to do is to work their way through the program. They don't have to listen to every lecture. They just work their way through the interface and find the weaknesses, find the flaws. Help us test it and just get it into a really solid state. Okay? So Alexander, I'll be excited if you're going to be there with us because I know you're sure to find stuff for us. So, good. Great questions, great comments. Shireen and Tony, your hands are still up. Does that mean you have more questions? Or maybe you should just put your hands down. I know it's always tricky. All right, let's see. All right, Tonya, your hand's still up. So, question? Still? Follow up?
Oh, no, I couldn't get it. Oh, I'm pressing the
Get it down? You press the same button that you used to raise it. Okay, Shireen, you too.
Calendar. Will you be putting in what weeks the kids will have review, what weeks will have mid-course tests, and so that it makes it easier for us to plan a year in advance?
Well, that is possible. That is possible now because we're going into European history and we're going to be ruthlessly maintaining the schedule set 3 years ago, or it turns out 4 years ago. So yeah, we've reached a point now. I'm very happy that we've reached a point in terms of curriculum development that basically the system is so solid in terms of the curriculum that every lecture is going to be very much modeled on a previous lecture, one for one. So there's no new invention going on here. And so that means that all the class notes are ready to go. All of the lecture notes are ready to go. And so everything is going to be really solid in that respect. So I can tell you exactly when every test is going to be. And that can be right on the academic calendar. So yeah, that's a great one to send me as an email follow-up, Shireen. And so that will be definitely be possible. Okay? So terrific. All right, nice issues, nice helpful questions there. So, and I think we've got them all handled as well. So, Shireen, one more?
Say that when you give us the dates, the testing dates, can they be actual dates, like week dates, rather than week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Date. They can be down to the day. Okay. The tests are always the same figure, always structured the same way, right? They come on a Thursday on a certain week, so you'll know the exact day, right down to the day. Absolutely. Okay. All right, let's go to history in particular. Okay, because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about with regard to history in particular. All right, so the first thing that I want to mention with regard to history is we now have a 4-year rotation of material. We now have ancient, European, American, and Asian. How should you conceive of this sweep of products, and how do I recommend that you tackle this vast amount of material that is before you at this point? Well, first of all, I can't stress this enough. By far, the most important content is the ancient European American 3-year sequence. If you never get to Asian history, that's okay. In other words, fundamentally, pedagogically, objectively speaking, the history of Western civilization is an order of magnitude more important than the history of Asia, especially for, of course, American clients. So if you need to have a simple conception of the sequence of work, just think ancient European American, ancient European American, rinse, repeat. Okay? Just one after the other. When you get to American, you're done with American, you go back to ancient. And you just go up to the next level. You're at lower L, you go to upper L. You go to upper L, you go to junior high, you go to junior high, that's your high school. So it's very, very straightforward. It's 12 years worth of material if you want to use it that long. Okay, so it's very simple that way. That said, the Asian history, how do I suggest you handle the Asian history? The Asian history is fantastic content. I'm really very proud of it. It was a great course, but it is of peripheral significance as far as the world is concerned. The United States is by far, to a dramatically asymmetrical degree, the most important country in the world. So, yes, China is becoming more important. Yes, Japan has been relatively important in this age, and it's definitely going downhill now. Yes, these civilizations do matter. And who can say that the Islamic world does not matter after 9/11? But this content, in terms of broadest degree of significance, are tangential. And so what you want to do with that content is you want to decide, let's say your family is of Chinese origin. Then what you do is you do ancient European American, and in the summer you do Chinese history. Because each of the 4 components of Asian history are broken down into 8-week segments that fit perfectly in the summer. So what you do with Asia is you sneak it into the summer. Or you do it in parallel. You want to do ancient history and you want to do Chinese history at the same time? Pretty good idea. So you can do it in parallel as a value-added endeavor, as an extra project to help you just gain that more full-featured understanding of the world. And if your child has a particular interest in Japan, or, there's a lot of different reasons to tackle any particular area in Asian history. So it's there for you to be, and I very much encourage you to conceive of it in that way, as a value-added product that is a supplement, a very useful and compelling and engaging supplement to what you should be doing as a fundamental course of study. So definitely think of the 3 primary years, ancient European American as your primary endeavor, and then think of Asia as something you can add in if you have the time, either over and above or during the summer, in some way to add content, to add excitement, to add spice, whatever you prefer to your homeschooling project. Okay, so next year, in keeping with the standard 3-year rotation, because I won't be teaching Asian history live again. I won't. So, in keeping with the standard 3-year rotation, we're going back to European history live. So what is that going to look like? Well, in simple terms, it's going to look like it's always looked. I mean, I've taught European history 3 times previously in this setting already. That's how long I've been at it. And so, this is going to be the 4th. And so there are a lot of consequences that derive from that particular fact. One is that the system is absolutely set. So as Shireen was asking about whether or not she can know when the date of the test is going to be and things like that, absolutely, down to the minute you can know these things because basically it is so systematic at this stage. I could teach European history in my sleep. So, and actually I will be to a certain extent because, in fact, I'm going to be splitting the teaching responsibilities with a student teacher in the coming year. So some of you already know him. He's taught a number of classes on a provisional basis in past years. His name is Peter Rothlein. And like me, he has an engineering and computing background, and he came to history as an adult. He's been studying with me for years, and he has that quality that I look for in a fellow teacher. He's passionate about history. He is the kind of guy that can write me an email, and in that email he will tell me, I cannot live without history. And that's what I'm looking for in fellow teachers. He's got it. He's got that X factor. And so he's going to be joining me as a teacher next year. We're going to be splitting the teaching responsibilities in European history 50-50. He's going to be teaching Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm going to be teaching Wednesdays and Thursdays. And so that's one basic fact about the live classes next year. And let me tell you a few more things about that program. One of the things that we are going to do, which is going to break from the pattern of past years is that Mr. Rothline has come up with an ingenious method that is just, for me, a really eloquent confirmation of his potential as a teacher. He's come up with an ingenious method for teaching history. And it's called, I don't know if he's calling it this, but I'm calling it this. It's called history through poetry. So I don't know if you can call it that or not, but that's what I'm calling it. History through poetry. And it's delightful. He's been showing me how, and what does it mean, history through poetry? It doesn't mean studying expert poetry written by Rudyard Kipling and whoever else. What it means is writing poetry about history. Writing history as a poetical narrative. And if this sounds a little strange to you or you're not sure how to take it, believe you me, the samples I've seen are absolutely thrilling. And I myself have started writing historical poetry because I can't get enough. It's beautiful. It's absolutely delightful. And for me, at this stage of my learning, it's just been another component of added joy in my study of the past. And it was Mr. Rothline that taught me how to do it. So I'm already in his debt for having originated this concept, and he's going to now pass it on to the kids. And I cannot say, I cannot exaggerate how excited I am about this, because we already have history through art. We have visual art appreciation integrated to history. Now we're going to have poetry. I mean, I think that we're onto something here that is really wonderfully significant. And Mr. Johnson's going to be teaching poetry in his music class. I think there's going to be a wonderful synergy there of music, poetry, narrative, literature. There's a potential here for a tremendous synergy between these learning projects that I think is just staggering. Yeah, and when I started teaching over 10 years ago at a private school, Van Dam Academy in Southern California, I had to be a jack of all trades. It was a small school, and it was just getting started. And so I taught literature. I taught vocabulary. I taught writing. I taught history. All at the same time. Science. I taught it all. And I remember what it was like to observe how connections tend to emerge and how teachers can foster connections between subjects and enhance that ability of children to perform that crucial cognitive step is integration. And I've seen it in practice, and I see it emerging as a trait of the Learning at Our House system. And I cannot exaggerate how important this is for the minds of our children. So I'm really, really excited that we're getting this literature, this literary component that is merging with our history, with our music, and it's all getting connected up in just a super way. So I hope you'll be able to take advantage of as many of these different products as possible, because the strength is not just in the numbers. The strength is in the integration of the variety of parts into a learning whole. Every time I use the word whole, I have to say W-H-O-L-E, right? Into a sum. So this year in our Asian history class, the students and I were talking quite a bit about the importance of integration. And so pedagogically speaking, it is it's probably the central question of cognitive development is the issue of integration. And so the fact that these various subjects are coming together like this, to me, is a really exciting feature of this suite of learning products. So, Keen, I see that you have a pressing question. So why don't I pause for a second, go ahead and let you ask it.
I hit a mistake. I was going to say that when we're talking about the component, that it might be doing something like that, and I was pretty interested.
I'm sorry to say that your sound cut in and out on that one. Why don't you give me a long chat to that effect, and then we'll address it in the Q&A. Okay? Take your time chatting it, and let me know what your thoughts are there. I'm just going to move on here, and we can come back to it in the final Q&A. Okay. So what more? We have now we've got this new teaching arrangement. We've got the new poetry segment. I know that I'm probably blowing you away at this point. It's a little bit of a plethora, but I must tell you, I cannot not tell you about two more things. So I'm going to stop at that, okay? She's going to tell you drop two more bombshells on you on this one day, okay? I know it's a lot to take in, but these are actually the two biggest ones. So I hope you're not already, if you're already reeling, you might need to hang up and listen to the recording. But hopefully you're excited and you just want to hear more. So let me drop two more bombshells on you. In terms of what is going to be happening. Which one do I do first? Ooh. I thought I knew which one I wanted to do first, but now I'm not sure. All right, I'm actually going to go in the reverse order than I thought I was going to do. Okay, so, here we go. Is this the right one to do now? All right, I'm just going to have to control my excitement and just do it. Okay, here we go. Okay. Oh, I wanted this to be a slide. It'd be nicer if it was bigger. Okay. So, I wanted to announce, oh, come on. There we go. I wanted it to be paused. I wanted to announce a new course. Oh, please. One more time. Pause. I hope it will pause now. I wanted to announce a new course. Oh, I've had enough of this program. Can't believe it won't let me pause. All right, so there we go. The new course. I have no better name for it, so I'm calling it Philosophy at Our House. And so, because I can't think of a better word than philosophy. But basically, the course, this is how, I'm not going to go into too many details right here and now because I think it's going to be overwhelming for you to think about all of this, okay? But I just wanted to let you guys know that this is coming, and I wanted to introduce you to the concept. I'm creating a new course. I call it Philosophy at Our House. You'll notice the names of the various spiritual, religious, philosophical thinkers. I would say that the six on this screen are the big six that we're going to be referring to in the course. So there will be others, but basically I think you can see, if you're familiar with any more than two or three of them, that it's a very inclusive, to use a very homeschooly word, it's a very inclusive course that goes across the spectrum from what we would call Eastern philosophy. I don't like to use that expression because, quite frankly, that thinkers like Lao Tzu and Buddha, I don't consider them to be philosophers. I think that word is a very specific word. But nonetheless, they have a certain wisdom. They have a certain insight into human life and into human nature, which I think is valuable. And they have a certain emphasis in their thinking and in their practices, which I think are missing in the work of much more scientific, strict philosophical thinkers like Aristotle and Ayn Rand in the Western tradition. And then, of course, we have really the fountainheads of Western thinking. We have Greek thinking in the form of Socrates, and we have the Judeo-Christian tradition, of course, symbolized by Jesus. And so we have such a wonderful spectrum of ideas that's embodied in this variety of thinkers that I want to offer a course, not a history of philosophy, not a kind of social studies, shotgun, all kinds of different views. Okay? What is this course going to be? This course is going to be designed as a program, as a class on mindfulness. I haven't been able to find a better term than that. Another term would be thoughtfulness. Another term that I've seen used is intentionality. The Greeks talked about this trait that I want to teach as being they refer to it as the unexamined life is not worth living. But what I mean is the opposite is we're talking about the examined life. We're talking about active-mindedness. We're talking about all of these related terms that really span the spectrum of these thinkers, which, if you know who they are and what they stand for, you might think of them as being very much, in some cases, opposites or combatively different from each other, and not typically mixable. And I don't mean to suggest that everything that they have to say is just really representative of one school of thought. I recognize fully that they are very different, and I do not embrace everything that each of them has to say. But what I want to try to show is what is best, as far as I can tell, among each of them, and what they each have to say, which I think is profound, that is valuable and to be pursued as a part of modern life. Because we've lost track of so many important features of a properly lived life. In ancient times, there was a greater urgency somehow among a wider spectrum of thinkers about the necessity of examining human life as such. And so almost contemporaneously, you can find people like Buddha and Socrates tackling really difficult questions of what human life is, what human nature is, and what the best way it is to live and to pursue our values. And somehow, I only say somehow because it's just beyond the scope of our present discussion. I think I know how. We lost sight of these things. And we live in such a materially advanced, scientifically and technologically advanced society. We're all racing around. We're all racing at just an incredible pace to achieve new values and make more money and go new places. Unfortunately, that is and to a large extent, and I don't mean to accuse anybody of this, but all I'm saying is the generality about culture. A lot of this is mindless. A lot of this has a vacuous element that is a tremendous there's a tremendous missing component to that. And I think you know what I'm talking about. If you think about the spectrum of sitcoms on television, if you think about the corruption of politics or political life nowadays, if you just look across, if you think about the level of the music that we listen to, don't get Mr. Johnson started about that, because that will get him particularly depressed. But if you think about there's just a variety across the spectrum of cultural attributes, our modern culture is pretty decrepit. It's scientific, it's advanced, it's fast, it's technological, but it's morally untethered. It's spiritually vacuous. It's intellectually fragile. And so my purpose in offering a course on philosophy is to help. And guess what? This course is for you, not for your kids. It's for both. It's not one or the other. It's a course for families. It's an invitation. I guess maybe a good subtitle for the course would be Invitation to Philosophy. An invitation to thoughtfulness. An invitation to examine life. And if there is a text, there isn't a text. And the curriculum is very much under construction. But if there is a text, I'm going to show it to you. The text is this one. So if you're interested in listening to this in advance, I can't recommend this book enough. This is on Audible. So it's great to listen to in the car. It's great to listen to anywhere. And I love this book. It's called Wherever You Go, There You Are. The theme of the book is mindfulness. And it has to do with meditation as well. But that's really only about the last third of the book. The first two parts of the book are more about the theories, are more about the reasons for embarking on a life that to pursue mindfulness. And I love this book. I can't recommend it enough. I'm going to talk about a lot of the concepts that are in this book with the students. And in this hectic rat race type of a life that we live, I can't stress enough how significant this book is, and in relation to the thought of these various philosophers that we're going to be discussing. I think the sum can be a toolkit for living that we all very desperately need. We don't have enough of this in our world today. So I'm excited to be able to make a new addition to the History at Our House, the Learning at Our House system, by giving what I hope is going to be the most personal, the most compelling and value-laden course that you're ever going to encounter. That's going to give you, a really a chance to examine things in your life and to help your children become the kind of people that lead the life that Socrates invited us to lead. That's coming up. Details to follow, of course, because there's still more to be hammered out with regard to that. But it's going to be a course that's available for the lower L all the way up to adults. And I hope that you will take it along with your kids. I hope you will take it together. And that it will become a part of your family life, that you want to engage with the thought of these different thinkers, and that it can give you a new and beautiful dimension to your family life. That's part one of two. I have to add that there's a bridge between the two. There's one more. Let me see. We're about 50 minutes in because we started a little late. I think that we've got about 10 minutes to go, just to give you a heads up there, in case you were wondering how much longer we've got about 10 minutes to go, and then Q&A. Okay? So here's the philosophy segment is going to be added to the courses on offer, and yes, it's going to be available live, absolutely. And as I said, I recommend, if you're at all interested, and no matter if you're going to take it or not, go get this book and listen to it. I think it could be a powerful way of gaining a new insight into your own life, regardless of whether or not you want to take classes from me. So we're going to be doing this, and then now I want to just, for a moment, before we get into the very last element, I want to say something that is that's crucial and that is kind of in the background of everything that I'm working towards at this point. Why I am pressing forward with a lot of really ambitious projects this summer, and why I'm really hoping to kind of create an explosion of sorts on the educational scene with the Learning at Our House system. History at Our House has been quite obscure as a product up to this point. It has really not penetrated into the homeschooling market. That is, to a large extent, a result of my own limitations. I don't know how to do marketing. I don't like marketing. I am a historian. And so the limitations on the technical setup have been mine. The limitations on the business end and the marketing have been mine. So there have been a lot of reasons why History at Our House has not launched and taken over the entire homeschooling industry as I think the quality of the product merits. But I think the marketing side of it has been one enormous limitation. But that's part of one of the challenges that we're facing in the course and in this entire product line. And one of the things that I'm hoping to recruit you all to help overcome. And this relates to the fact that my goal, and stating it here for the first time publicly, but my goal is to make History at Our House available to the world for free. That is my goal. And that is only a means to an end. That is not my ultimate goal. That is only a means to an end. If I can be so bold, and hopefully I will not shock you into a state of disbelief. But my ultimate goal is to bring an end to public education. And I think that public education is a fundamentally flawed concept. And I think that all of the horrors that are attendant of public education today are not accidental. I think that they are absolutely a reflection of the essence of that which public education is. I think public education is a disastrous concept, and I want to bring it to an end. And I believe in the virtue of human beings to pursue education privately and a free market of education, as with every other free market that they deserve to have. And so I want to create a product that will basically have zero barriers to entry, that will be absolutely free, that will be available to everybody's smartphone, everybody on the planet, whether you are living in the impoverished universe of Bangladesh or Zaire or living in Orange County, California. You'll be able to just log on with your smartphone and get an education. And that is my dream, to be able to provide true quality education to any person on this planet, and thereby basically nullify the need for public education, to absolutely nullify and cancel it as a phenomenon. And so, because I think you can see, why are you all involved in this alternative that is homeschooling? It is because we live in an educational dark age. The reason why we need a philosophy at our house, the reason why we need a history at our house, the reason why we're all scrambling to try to correct everything that seems to be going wrong in the world around us is because education is so profoundly broken. And we broke it. It's our fault. But the means that we used to break it, the mechanism, the hammer that we used to break it was government and the concept of public education. And the only way we're going to fix it is if we get rid of that concept. And it's going to be a long, hard battle. But I think that a number of opportunities are emerging. One of the things that's obviously emerging in our culture today is the absolute and utter intellectual and moral bankruptcy of the educational establishment. Whether our kids are going to school and getting shot by somebody on school property, or whether or not they arrive at school with a Lego gun and then are suspended for it because of the insanity of the browbeating, brainwashing teachers that are in the public schools. It doesn't matter if they're all, everything that's going on in our public schools is a disaster. And it needs to be stopped. This is, as an educator, my dream is to give children what they need to live and to flourish. And what our schools are doing is the exact opposite. Our schools are destroying our children. They are destroying our culture. They're destroying America. And I can't stand it. And I want to do everything that I can to try to fix this problem. I think I have a lot of tools. I think I have a lot of unique skills and abilities to bring to bear. I think we have a product that is taking shape, that is going to make things possible that otherwise would not be possible. We have this amazing communication medium that is the internet. We have the tools to get the government out of our minds, to take back our society, which seems to be running out of control in the wrong direction. We need to take those tools and we need to start using them now, because the trajectory of our society is very dangerous. And specifically, over the next few years, we're going to start to see, and as a historian, I hope you have a certain amount of trust in my historical insights into the world around us, and you're trusting me to teach your children about it, and you've been seeing perhaps in my History of Asia program that I have a number of predictions embedded in that course. I hope that you have a certain amount of trust in my historical judgments. As a historian, I have to warn you, we're heading into very difficult times. We are heading into what, in hindsight, historians will call a Great Depression. I can only make this statement on the basis of my historical awareness. Most people cannot make this integration. Most people cannot see where the financial crisis of 2007 and the response of government to it, and the connection of that financial crisis to the previous housing bubble, to the previous dot-com bubble, to the previous Japanese bubble, and so on, how all of these are interconnected, how the global economy is structured at this time, and how the government is ruining the whole thing. Most people cannot see this. It is so complex that I understand that most people cannot see it. But I see it. It is absolutely crystal clear to me that in 2007 we entered into the early phases of a Great Depression. Not a recession. All the spin jobs of all of the politicians of the world cannot make it otherwise. It is not a Great Recession. It is not a jobless recovery. It is none of these things. It is a Great Depression. And the reason why it's not evident yet is because in 2007, 2008, and thereafter, the governments of the world, in a concerted effort, engaged in a long emergency procedure to mask the depression. And if you look up Ben Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve of the United States, the most powerful man on the planet, who can print money using his keyboard, and who does, on a daily basis, create $4 billion of funny money out of nowhere. If you look him up, what you will learn, his bio is, he studied the original Great Depression. He was supposed to be a scholar of the Great Depression. And on the basis of his studies, he decided that the next time there would be a great financial crisis, he would stop it from happening. Now, this is the height of presumption that is only possible in a modern intellectual apparatus that is completely spurious. But Ben Bernanke thinks that he could, and thinks that he has, saved the world by printing $4 billion of money every single day. But he has not. And we are headed into a Great Depression. There will come a time, and shortly in the next few years, where nobody can pretend otherwise. And this is going to be hard on us. It's going to be very hard on our families. It's going to be very hard on us as providers. It's going to be very hard on us as educators. It's going to be hard on everybody. And it's going to be long. It's going to be long, I'm sorry to say. And in anticipation of this, I know that a lot of people are going to be going broke. A lot of people are going to be experiencing hardships. And they're not going to be able to pay for History at Our House. But I would think it's devastating and tragic if, as a consequence of the way that our government has ruined us financially, that people who are worthy cannot obtain an education. I desperately do not want that to happen. So I want to make History at Our House available for free. But I can't do it. I can't just snap my fingers and make that happen. There are costs associated with it. I've run myself into near bankruptcy making the project of History at Our House. That is my level of dedication, but I can't do it on my own. I need help. and I need to communicate with you as clients, especially as returning clients, as dedicated patrons of this program. We need to rally, to summon what we have available collectively to make that happen. And so the philosophy program in part derives from the need to come together in that way. The need for us to form a community, and to form an unconventional, long-distance community of families, of educators, of citizens, in order to salvage what we've got and make our lives better. Because we're going to need to do it. We're going to need to work together to pull out of this. If we don't, I don't see a lot of hope. We have so many obstacles before us. We have so many challenges before us, whether we're talking about America or the world. It's extremely daunting to face the future, but we have the tools, we have the abilities. We just need to work together on them, and I hope that with this product, with these product offerings, with the tools that you have, with the new technical constructs that we have to bring it all together, that we're going to be creating a platform here for cultural change. So, as I said, there's a lot to take in, right? And so here, let me finally get to the very last item, because I promise we've got to be done already, but we've got one more to go. and this will just give you a sense of just how much is racing through my mind these days and why I need mindfulness training, because I've got a lot going on, and sometimes I need to stop and meditate because there's just too much going on in my brain. So let me get to this one final item, and this is my baby. I already have a son. He's a beautiful creature. His name is Patrick Henry Powell, and I'm going to start homeschooling him this very year. So I already have a son, but this is my baby. My baby is called "History is Dead. Long Live History." So what is it? It's a book. And so History is Dead, Long Live History is the book that I am currently writing. It is, as the subtitle here says, the working subtitle, the complete single volume history of the world you've been looking for and won't find anywhere else. I will be writing this book over the course of the coming academic year. It's already flowing smoothly as we speak. It's so easy for me to write it. It's just the right time for me to do this. So it's just a delight to be writing it. I want, as I said, I want to offer History at Our House for free. I also want to offer, in the future, that is, I also want to offer History is Dead for free. So I want the ebook version to be absolutely free. Now, of course, there's an enormous cost associated in time and effort and money in order to make the book. And I don't have any funding for this. So I need some way to feel people or other source. So I need to find a way to fund the enormous effort that's been required of me to generate this so far and to continue to generate. So I'm going to be offering a course on the book. It's going to be once a month only. Very, very limited commitment. Every month, I will email everybody in the course a chapter from the book. We will read it ahead of class, and in that class, once a month only, we will discuss the chapter. And then you'll have homework and all kinds of fun activities over the course of the month. And once a month, again, you'll get the next chapter. And in the course, we'll sit down, talk it over. I'll get your feedback. I'll give you tips and tricks. By the time you are done with this course, no matter what your standing is today with regard to your knowledge of history, by the time you are done with this book and this course, I guarantee you you will know history. All of it. So this is the next stage in what I hope is an educational revolution. Because this book will finally make it possible for adults to learn history. History is dead. History is dead. Historians have killed it. You know that it's dead. You know that history is irrelevant today. You know that nobody cares. You might have this inkling, this fragment of an awareness, of a desire to know history, but you know that if you want to go learn it, you can't. You can't. It takes a colossal, professional commitment to learn history. I've done it. That's my passion. That's who I am. But nobody else can do it. And the historians that will teach you history in college, instead of giving you a passion, giving you knowledge, and making you historically minded, they will kill your desire to learn. They have destroyed history, and they haven't destroyed it by means of lies. Howard Zinn is completely wrong. It's not the lies that our teachers have told us. It is the utterly boring, dreary truths that they have told us that are not worthy of being learned. That's what killed history. And so we need to revive it. We need a history that is alive. We need a history that is full of values, of relevance, of content, of instruction, and of inspiration. That is the purpose of this book. To begin the process of reviving an entire intellectual domain that is dead. If you've entrusted me with your students' learning, with your children's learning in History at Our House, you know I can deliver on this promise. History is alive at History at Our House, and it can be alive for you as a grown professional adult that's got barely enough time to read one chapter a month. It can still come alive for you too. And you can live in a family that has this wonderful value alive, vibrant in your intellectual life together. So that is the final culminating component of what I have to offer you for the coming year. So I hope you can see that big things are in the works. This is not an average History at Our House year, which by itself would be a pretty darn good thing, but this is a big year. It's the biggest year I have ever had. It's the biggest year I think that we could ever possibly have together. This is me giving it my all. And I hope that you'll join me with an equal commitment as clients, as students, as lifelong learners, and that we can achieve an incredible result for us, for the culture at large in the coming year and beyond. So, thank you very much. That is all I have to say for today. I now am going to open the floor up to further questions and comments. Corinne. Well, I don't know, Corinne, I don't know whether to say I'm sorry or you're welcome. because that's how I feel about it too. because yeah, I almost cried there. I almost broke into tears because there's so much wrong with the world today, and that makes me cry sometimes. But I feel like a really deep sense of hope every day that I get to work, and I hope that I've given you a sense of that hope, and that together we can have a few good cries and do a lot of learning. So, Lawrence, go ahead.
Will you still be having research assistants helping your book?
Okay, now you're asking a very specific question there, Lawrence, and so let me go ahead and address that. I intend to have my high school students act as research assistants on the book. That is a very specific project. So that is relevant to Lawrence, that is relevant to Owen, that is relevant to Elia, and who's not here, and Andrew, who's not here, but their parents and so on. Anybody that's having kids move up to the high school level here, you should very much think about whether or not they might like to participate in the History of Dead project as research assistants, because I'm going to need that. And that's going to be a very interesting project for them to learn more history and to become accredited research assistants who are going to be cited in the book. So that's an exciting dimension to the project, is I'm going to be working with students to teach them how to do research and to be fact checkers and to do all kinds of various projects to make sure that the book is rock solid in terms of research. So yeah, you can anticipate that, Lawrence. That's also going to be a whole new separate issue. We'll have to have a separate client conference just about that, the high school segment, and how we're going to be doing things in the high school segment. Okay? So that's fine on that front. Anyway, just a reminder, just go ahead and use the hand raising function if you have any questions or comments or exclamations of any sort. They're all welcome. I have a number of people on the phone. So I'm going to collectively unmute you folks who don't have the ability to unmute yourselves. If you are calling in on the phone, I would just go ahead and say your name if you have any questions or comments. So go ahead. You're all unmuted at this point. And of course, if you don't have any, that's fine too. Okay. I take it there weren't any questions or comments, so that's fine. Anybody else? Tiffany, please.
Hi, yes, I was just wondering, were you going to do our early registration period at the discounted rate like we did before, and if so, when that was going to start?
Okay, that's fine. There's a question. So let's talk about registration. Registration will open at some point in July, and it's going to look very different than it has in the past. So I can't speak to the details. Not only will there be a registration wizard, as we looked at on screen as I demoed for you, but the registration options are going to be there's going to be a lot of registration options because you can sense that there are a lot of these. There's a variety of pieces here. With the philosophy, with the history is dead, with the European history, the music, with the science. So given the complexity of the array of products, we still need to stage that registration system. So that's the tricky thing, is that we've got to work out the details in the background here. So you're gonna have to wait. It's going to be later in July before I'm ready to start offering registration. And before that, I'm going to need to talk to you all about different levels of participation, including kind of a patron type of level where you'll be paying at a certain rate. And then basically earning lifetime free access to the History of Our House system thereafter. So I need some seed funding, if you will. I need some help to launch this into this new level. So there are going to be a lot of options there. So we're going to have to talk about those at a later juncture. Okay, so more news about that in the next few weeks. Okay. Follow up? Go ahead. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Oh, sorry. I was just wondering, how do we judge when our kids, and this may be something you want to answer later, but how would we judge when the kids are ready for high school level?
How old is Jackson?
Jackson's 14.
Okay. Jackson is ready. So there's no way for me to make a blanket statement about that. Okay? But Jackson is ready. So that's all I have to say about that. So it may still be relatively early for him, in the sense that I don't have a good sense of his writing abilities and a variety of other issues, but I know him as a person, and I know that he's ready. So if you're trying to think of a similar question relating to your own kids, let me know, especially if they've been in the live class and you want a sense of my evaluation of where they stand. Just ask, and I'll give you I can give you a rundown. I think pretty easily as to where I think you'll stand. So Jackson's ready for high school. So that's that. Anything else? John, go ahead, John.
Scott, do you have plans to add to the curriculum, such as like writing at our house or literature at our house, mathematics at our house, that sort of thing?
I definitely have plans to, the trick with all of those things is to find the right partners. And so I have a lot of people lined up in various areas. And it's just a matter of finding the right proposition for them to make it, and for it to be the right fit. So I need to find people like Mr. Johnson and Mr. Krieger and Mrs. Miner who just are ready to gravitate into this Learning at Our House system and who are as committed as all of these other providers are to education and making a difference. I think there are a few candidates out there. I just need to find a way to get that thought, that proposition planted in their thinking, to really, get them on board. So I'm trying to do that. I'm working on it as we speak. So yeah, I'm definitely doing my best to get those folks on board as well. Yeah, because I would love it. I mean, I'm a historian. My favorite homeschoolers in the history of mankind are the founding fathers. The founding fathers were homeschooled. That's enough said, right? Enough said. If those geniuses, those world-altering geniuses were homeschooled, then why on earth are we public schools? And it's only because we didn't pay attention to their model. It's only because we didn't learn from history, and that's historians' fault. And we've gotten caught up and all wrapped up in this institutional behemoth that's got this massive momentum, and as members of this civilization, it's hard for us to shake that. But anybody who's in this conference call has already taken great strides to doing that. And, we just need to take it to the next level. We just need to enhance and empower that commitment, just to take it to the next level, and we can bring in those acquaintances of ours, those friends of ours, that family of ours. We can all bring them on board too. And before you know it, there's just no need for public schools. And imagine just what transformation that will wreak in our society. What a dramatic change. I think that's all we need to do. There's nothing else we need to do to save the world. That's it. So we can all just make this commitment and trumpet this idea to the world. That's it. We will save the world. I kid you not. And once Americans know that they can educate their kids for free at home, Why? Why would they send them to be brainwashed by the government? I think we'll get a buy-in. I think we can get a cultural scale transformation in a matter of years. And I think that alone can transform our civilization. When I say that education is the most important thing, I mean, I'm trying not to mouth a cliche. I'm trying not to just talk in the kinds of vapid expressions that people use without really meaning it. I hope you guys know that I mean it. History at Our House is my declaration that I mean it. History is dead. Long live history is my battle cry. So this is the beginning. So thank you for having participated thus far in this project. Thank you for having been here today to give me a chance to promote this vision. And so I look forward to be able to making this contribution to all your lives and to your families and to your children in the future. Thank you again. Bye for now. Take care.